I knew your rector, Jeff, was going to Synod, and I also knew preparing a sermon while you're sitting there doing the stuff at Synod is very difficult. So I offered to help, and he accepted. Thank you, Jeff. In the New Testament, there are 62 references to saints. And St. Paul uses the word 44 times to refer to us, the church on earth. And the Greek word is hagios, the holy ones. If you are a member of the church according to Paul, you are a holy one. But you say, as I say, I'm not a holy one. How can I be a saint? Now that question raises another question, mainly what makes a saint a saint? Now here's a story. It's not a true one. I don't think it's true, but it could well be taking place in Boston, where I lived for 3 years. But it's a mafia story. There was a mafia lord in Boston who was training his son to be all of the stuff his dad was. And the son, lo and behold, was gunned down on the streets by a machine gun. Obviously, another gang didn't like that. And the son was distraught, or the father was distraught, and went to the big Roman Catholic Church, Italian, and said to the priest, "You know, Father, my son really was not a bad kid. He really liked helping some of the poor kids. He was buying hockey equipment for them. And I know he did a couple of murders, and I know he did this, I know he did that. But, you know, he wasn't a bad kid. And Father, I want you to say during, whatever you say it, but somehow say that my son Mario was a saint." The priest said, "Oh, difficult. And he says, "Father, I have here a check made out to the church. It's a mess. The furnace is bad. It's $3 million. Father, I really want to sign that check. All you got to say, Mario was a saint." So the priest said, "Gee, this is some story. I'm stuck with compassion. I'm stuck with practicalities." He called the bishop, and the bishop said, "How much?" He said, $3 million. He said, "Well, you figure it out. Say it." What that story illustrates, well, anyway, I'll finish the story. The funeral did happen. And the priest said, "You know, obviously Mario was a good kid. But Mario also was involved in bad things, murder, drug trade, prostitution, you know, casinos, all of that stuff. But compared to his father, he was a saint." $3 million. I wish I could think like that, but anyway. The story illustrates that the word saint can mean different things to different people. Paul calls us saints for this reason. Being a saint has little to do with us, and it has everything to do with God. We are not pure and all holy, but God is. We are the children of God through the cross of Jesus. Now to the readings. The first two readings come from strange parts of the Bible. The first reading is from the Wisdom of Solomon. Now that's a book from the Apocrypha. These books, 14 of them are in Roman Catholic Bibles, and I have one of them here, and it says Catholic Edition. That means it's got the 14 books of the Apocrypha in it. They're in Anglican Bibles. I have one here, New English Bible. And we also have them. It says Apocrypha, so we have it there. Other Christians want nothing to do with those books. Reason, they're Hellenistic. They come from Greek times. One of them is called Daniel, Bell, and the Snake. It's a marvelous little story. It's very funny. It's very strange, but it's funny. Greek times were not good times for Jews, so they too do not include them in their Bible either. This is the Hebrew Bible, the Tanakh, which they call it. You'll be learning about that in your course, the Tanakh. And it doesn't have it in there either. Anglicans do. So that gives us, and I think that happened because the Catholic Anglicans at that time when the Bibles were being put together, they happened to have their king in power and they won it so that we get the Apocrypha. And the next one came in, heads flying off all over the place. They couldn't change it. But Anglicans do, so that gives us an opportunity to read from one of them on All Saints' Day, and we did. The reading starts with the words, "The souls of the righteous are in the hand of God." Our righteousness, if we have any of it at all, it's God's. It is God who came to us in the flesh, incarnate among us. And that present underlies the entire community of faith, even when our behavior is less than stellar. Like John Newton, for example, his famous hymn, Amazing Grace. Everybody knows that hymn. It has the words, "How amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch." Wretch. Could you get it more powerful than that? A wretch like me. So, you can be a saint and also a wretch. What is amazing is that God makes saints out of wretches when we repent and look to Jesus for forgiveness and renewal. John Newton made his wealth as a slave ship captain. Sorry he was for it, called himself a wretch, and gave us his hymn that we hear all the time. It's played on the bagpipes even. I play it, and people ask for that hymn constantly. Anyway, I won't say I don't like it, but I'm tired of playing it. Everybody who knows nothing about the Church of Jesus knows that hymn. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. And I think it's equally amazing to hear these words being sung by folks at funerals who have never gone to church, know anything about Jesus, and there they all are, calling themselves wretches. I am a bit amused sometimes. And it brings us to the reading from Revelation. Now, it's another strange book. It's not apocryphal, but it is apocalyptic. There are big words, eh? It means hidden. It was hidden because you read and wrote that book under times of persecution. You could be killed if you were found writing that book. So the hidden book, apocalyptic, it's probably one of the most misused and misunderstood book, the last book of the Bible. And so it's often misinterpreted as being prophecy when it is nothing of the sort. It is an Hebraic Jewish form of writing that creeps into our New Testament that is meant to encourage the faithful when times are really, really bad. Traumatic even. It is written when the Romans are killing everybody, crucifying people, destroying everything, destroying a culture, all buildings, the temple, everything. Trying to wipe out because they would not pay obeisance to Caesar. The word of God goes out to his people in that context, and God says in a thundering voice, and you heard it, "See, I am making all things new." Now that must have sounded awfully Pollyannish in the midst of that. The phoenix is rising from the ashes of death and destruction. And when God says, "I am making all things new," even the promises of our new Prime Minister-elect pale in comparison to that. We, the saints of God, share in this making of all things new. That's where we, as saints, come into it. Now, in the gospel reading, in the olden days, I was 26 years old at the time, and a new curate in a very large urban inner city parish on the edge of Boston. We had 3 clergy, large staff, very lucky to get that training. Lynn, Massachusetts, you know that area, at that time was referred to everybody as an armpit city. It really had its problems. I was single and soon noticed that many of the young ladies of the parish, also single, were certainly taking stock of me. Jeff might know some. It was the way they looked at me, and the winks I would get when I was giving a talk. And the rector took me aside and he wisely told me to watch yourself. At a church picnic soon after I arrived, one young lady was particularly dolled up in some rather skimpy, enticing apparel. This was the time of the God is Dead movement. That was big in the late 60s. There were theologians, Alzheimer, Hamilton, a couple of others. And it was really shaking people up because they didn't really know what those guys were saying. I did, but it was not threatening, but they were terribly threatened by it. And this young lady made sure that I would see this big pin that she was wearing on whatever she was tying it to, and it said, "God is not dead." Big words, exclamation marks. She wanted me to see that, guessing that I would be very impressed. No, and I wasn't, because I was thinking, well, show me you believe that God is alive by the way you live. You don't have to wear a pin. But anyway, there were times, they were all wearing pins. Young people wore pins in those days, all over. Political things, religious things, all kinds of things. It was on pins. That was before Facebook, internet, all that stuff. Another young lady also had a big pin. I could stomach that one, and the words were, "Be patient, God is not finished with me yet." I like that one. Now that I could identify with. That's been a pin I could wear all the time. God is dead, God is not dead, new life emerging from tombs of death, God is not finished with me yet. Those are some themes that could easily be read in today's gospel reading, the raising of Lazarus. It's the most appropriate reading for All Saints. These three readings have a lot to say to us because we live in a culture that says you are okay, not as saints perhaps, but you're okay if you buy into the big three A's. The big three A's of success. Want to guess what they are? Appearance, affluence, achievement. Oh, those are it. And if you have all of that, you will arrive. Who needs sainthood? Now, we have a fellow south of our border who wants to be president of the United States. Now, I won't mention his name, but he does blast a loud trumpet. If you know what I mean. Now, he's all about the three A's. He's got the three A's oodling out of him, all of them. Being a saint in Christian terms has nothing to do with any of that. Saintliness is much less about perfection than it is about transformation, a journey arising from ashes, walking out of the tombs and journeying to new life. It's a journey. It's not making it, it's a journey. To new life, to the city of God. We are so busy often trying to arrive via the three A's that we miss the point. That what really counts is the journey we are on, or not. For us, sainthood is not about externals, piety, looking good, having a fat bank account, or having all those other things that people point out, especially in the ads, that if you've got this, you've got that, you're okay. It's less about halos and more about humility. It's about the internal person, who we are on the inside. Yes, we are called to be good and to do good always, but remember that when we do good, we receive the most benefit. We get it. Being good and generous tends to transform us, and that's our journey. Now, I will finish this today by saying that in our churches around the world, let's see if I can find the song, there is a song that is being sung. It came out of the Old English hymnal, and it's called "I Sing a Song of the Saints of God." It appeared in Britain, written by Lesbia Scott and first published in 1929. It's very popular in the United States. That's where I saw it, particularly in the Episcopal Church, where it has been incorporated into their hymnal since the 1940s. It has not succeeded in making it into any of our hymn books. That's sad. When we sing it, it's often a children's hymn, but like many children's hymns, adults like them better. The last verse goes like this. Pardon my voice. It starts with they, the last verse, referring to the saints. They live not only in ages past, there are hundreds of thousands still. The world is bright with the joyous saints who love to do Jesus' will. There's the good do stuff. You can meet them in school or in lanes or at sea, in church or in trains or in shops or at tea. It's British, remember. For the saints of God are just folk like me, and I mean to be one too. May we all have a saintly all saints. Amen.